Hi, this is Kyle with Music is a Verb. In my last video, I listened to the song Before You Go by Lewis Capaldi. While I listened to it, I made a list of qualities that I think the song had. Production techniques, songwriting techniques, and general theory that they used to create Before You Go. Today, I made a quick sketch of a track that uses those qualities I found to make a song like Before You Go. Let's take a look. Alright, so you can see right away on my screen that I've divided the song into two basic sections to create kind of a verse sounding section and a chorus sounding section. I wanted it to be really mellow and sparse on the verse because that's the way it is in the song, and then I wanted to see if we can build that arrangement out and get big, just like they do by the end of Before You Go. I'll start by showing the verse, this part right here. One of the first things to notice about Before You Go is that it's an acoustic guitar driven song. So I started just like that with the acoustic guitar. I opted for a different chord progression than they use in the song, going for 1, 2 minor, 4, back to 1. Then, right before my chorus comes in and the texture builds, I use a technique they use in the song, doing a 5 dominant sus to 5. That acoustic guitar part, including that 5 sus to 5, sounds like this. I also wanted to accent that 12-8, so you can see me doing groups of 3. And here it is, 5 sus to 5. After playing the acoustic guitar, I knew I needed to add some drums. But in Before You Go, the drums are really subtle and subdued. They sit below the acoustic guitar part. They're by far not the most important thing in the track. So I used a lot of filtering and a lot of reverb to keep the drums sitting way far back. First, I added in this driving quarter note kick like this. Just enough to keep it driving rhythm. I then added some clap and snare accents with varying degrees of reverb to help fill out the kind of subtle texture underneath the guitar. Here they are now. They sound like... After that, I added a big build into my 5 sus chord on the snare. Sounds like this. Again, even though it's a big build, it's really subtle because we don't want anything taking over from the guitar and what would eventually be the vocal. On top of this, I noticed that there were these really airy synths swirling around above, so I added that on my synth. Just enough to add some air. On top of this, there was really only one more element in the verse, and it was this counter melody that I played on the synth. I just kind of played around until I found some things that sounded good to me. It goes like this. Transitions. They would be in between vocal phrases. Build, and then 5 sus to 5. And then we're ready for our bigger texture in the chorus. Let's take a look. For the chorus, I didn't start with acoustic guitar the same way that I did for the verse, because I knew that I wanted the drums to build and become something more than they were in the verse. So I started with the drums to get the groove right. I started with the most basic drum beat you can. Kicks on 1 and 3, and snares on 2 and 4. It sounds like this. I then added a second snare with a lot of reverb as an accent on the second snare hit. And this adds a little bit of dynamics to the groove. I then added another snare track with some rolls and fills in between. This is what really makes the track start to groove, because there's really no steady hi-hat going on in Before You Go. It's all done with the snare and some light percussion. They sound like this. It goes. I then added a crash to start the section. Sounds like this. And this makes up the basics of my drum groove. I decided that I wanted the harmonic rhythm to get faster, the same way it did in the bridge of Before You Go. The chord progression that I opted for was 1, 4, 6, 5, and I played those roots on a synth bass to lay a texture underneath where all of my guitars will go. Sounds like this. 6 minor 2, 5. I then added in 4 different guitar parts. The first one is a main acoustic guitar part that's very similar to the one I played on the verse, but with the chords changing faster and matching the new chord progression. It sounds like this. All of these were played with fingers because I thought that that fit the texture of the song. On top of this, I played these big open octaves on acoustic, something I found so cool about the original track. I played them twice and panned them hard left and right to create a real sense of movement in the chorus. I'm gonna add them in on the next go around. Get ready to hear them in the left and the right. Here they come. Really accents that triplet compound feel too. On top of this, I added yet another guitar part, playing an arpeggio that kind of accents a counter melody that's gonna fall down, like me, 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 re, mi. Take a listen. That fills out all of the guitar parts that I wanted to add in. So all that remained was recreating some of that synth air and filling in the texture. That synth air on top, I added on another synth. Just stays up top on a drone synth, kind of shimmering on top of everything else. I then added a very light pad to help fill in the texture. It just helps it thicken up a little bit. Gotta thicken the stew. The only thing to do from here was create a second half of the chorus that starts driving with the bass drum, so that we change from this lilting halftime feel to a more driving feel. Take a listen. Everything else stays the same though, just the kick drum changes. Alright, so then all that remains is to do my favorite thing about this track, which was try to do the ending chord of the song as this odd suspended fourth chord. Let's see if I did it. And I kind of let the strings take over at the end. I won't say that I executed it as well as they did, but I had to throw it in there because I thought it was such a clever use of harmony in the original track. So, there's not much to this, but you can see how a few extra guitar parts really lift a chorus like that into a totally different dimension. I would still call the chorus mellow and acoustic, yet we're using all of our toolkit to create a big, lush, and rich texture over which that vocal just soars and kind of sits in the middle. Alright, so now that you've seen how the verse and the chorus are layered, let me show you how one flows into the next by setting up that big 5 dominant sus to 5, and then boom, right into your big thicker texture of the chorus. Here we go from the beginning. Staying very subtle, there'd be big vocals over this. Not much else other than that driving guitar. We get a snare build into the 5, sus to 5, and then drive. Keep it up. End and let the chord go. Take over with that sus4. Alright, so that's my breakdown of how to make a track that sounds something like Before You Go by Lewis Capaldi. If you enjoyed this, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment to let me know what kind of song or track you think I should make next. I'm always looking for suggestions. Thanks, and I'll see you soon.